G'day, it's fugitive Australian journalist Shane Dowling from the website kangaroocourtofaustralia.com. Now tomorrow, Tuesday the 23rd of August 2022, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese will be releasing the legal advice he's received today in relation to Scott Morrison appointing himself to 5 extra ministerial positions. But that legal advice will be fairly limited. It'll be limited to whether it was legal for Scott Morrison to do that. It won't cover the cover-up, say for example Governor-General David Hurley failing to publish those appointments on his own website. He has a website, gg.gov.au, and he has a programs page which I'll stick up on the screen now so you can have a look. And it lists all his functions and appointments, and previously it's listed appointments when he's sworn MPs in as ministers, but it makes no mention of the extra 5 ministerial appointments for Scott Morrison. No meetings with Scott Morrison and certainly no appointments. And the question's got to be asked, why doesn't it? Did David Hurley decide not to list them himself for some unexplained reason? Or did Scott Morrison ask him not to list it publicly? Either way, there's a huge question there that needs to be answered. Now previously all those ministers, when he's sworn in ministers, they've been published on that page. Even if he's done it online, say for COVID, he's sworn people in online via the internet, that'll still be listed. So there's a huge question mark there that the Governor-General David Hurley needs to answer. He's got a number of questions to answer, like I previously published. The $18 million donation he lobbied Scott Morrison for after Scott Morrison, he'd sworn Scott Morrison into a number of different ministerial positions. Last year he lobbied Scott Morrison to donate $18 million to a dodgy charity that didn't even exist at the time. So there's a lot of questions there for David Hurley to answer, because the question there is, was that part of the deal he did with Scott Morrison? So also what it won't cover tomorrow is that the original legal advice came from Christian Porter. Now, he's got no credibility when it comes to legal advice, because he set up the blind trust to pay for a defamation case that he originated against someone else, the ABC. And it wasn't a blind trust, it was a lie. It was just a dodgy slush fund, and we all know it. It didn't operate like a true blind trust is meant to run. So to sit back and say, for Scott Morrison or anyone to sit back and say, oh well, look, he got legal advice from Christian Porter, well that carries no weight at all. Then you got the Governor-General, David Hurley. He might say he's had legal advice. Well, even if he has, and I think people have alluded that he would have done, but even if he has had legal advice, remember back in 2011, the Skype sex scandal at the Canberra ADF base, where they told a young lady who had been filmed having sex with someone, and they put it up on the internet and put photos around the base. They told her, the police and the ADF lawyers told her that, oh sorry, look, if it had to happen in one of the states, you'd be covered. They could take action, but because it happened on the government base, they can't take any action. Well, that was a lie, and everyone knew it. And as soon as it hit the media, the federal police said, oh, well, look, we've reviewed it, and because it took place on federal land, it's covered by federal laws. Well, of course it was. It doesn't have to be on federal land. The whole of Australia is covered by federal laws. That was a joke. And David Hurley was part of that. He was head of the Defence Force. He should have taken responsibility. Once again, the point about that is they're using dodgy legal advice at that time to justify their actions. And so any legal advice that David Hurley may or may not have gotten, that needs to be tested. And I think thirdly, that's all it is. That's all Anthony Albanese is going to be receiving is legal advice. And as we all know, that's all it is, advice that is untested. And we need to work out some way to move forward and test that in court, because as you know, for example, Peter Dutton had legal advice he could sue for defamation. That turned out to be badly wrong, which in that case was probably a good thing. So legal advice counts for very little. It needs to be tested, I think, and the only way we could probably do it, given that no way there's probably going to be a court case, is actually have an open and public inquiry where we get a lot of different viewpoints and maybe have a panel set up to oversee it of some sort, because it can't rest the way it is. It needs to be an open public inquiry so the public can have full confidence in the government. Other than that, regular viewers would know I've set up a Patreon account, only been going a week. I've got 74 supporters who have pledged $604 a month. Now, I think that's pretty good going for the first week. I'm happy with that. But obviously, moving forward, we need to grow that to a level where it's a full-time income for me, so I can continue doing what I'm doing. Someone wrote a comment the other day, okay, what have you done? Well, you can go to my website, Kangaroo Court of Australia, and you can see over 12 years of reporting. You'll see a lot of articles there you just won't see anywhere else. So I investigate and I report on things other media won't. As we know, the old media have failed many, many times, and it's up to independent journalists like me and others to report what they won't report. And if you're a YouTube watcher, my channel, I've only really been driving it the last 12 months. You can go back through some of the recent videos and you're going to see comments on there or articles that I've published on the YouTube channel, and you just won't see them anywhere else. Like this one. You're not going to see people driving and putting the spotlight on Governor General David Hurley like I am. And the legitimate issues I'm raising, the old media need to jump on board as well, start driving it. And the politicians need to have a good listen to what I'm saying here, because we do need an open public inquiry into this matter at least. So please go to my Patreon. There'll be a link below this video on YouTube, and there's also some links on my website, Kangaroo Court of Australia, and donate. It starts off at only $3 a month. Most people can afford that, and all helps out and try and hit the target of 1,000 Patreon supporters. And if we can get to that level, well, then we'll be firing. Thank you for your support and have a good day.